Today is February 15th, 2020. My name is Joe Todd. This is an interview with Harold Pigg in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. You live in Tennessee. Sir, where were you born?
Marshall County, which is stated Lewisburg, Tennessee.
When's your birthday?
06/14/1963.
1963. Who was your father?
Raymond Jack Edmiston.
And your mother?
Miss Robbie L. Pigg. Both deceased.
Okay. Did you go through school in Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
You graduated high school what year?
1982.
1982. You played sports in high school?
I played the blue and white, blue and gold football, which I tried out for, but I was in the band majority of the time.
Okay. What'd you play?
Drums, Latin percussion, cymbals, bass drum, and concert Tiffany.
Okay. And you graduated what high school? Lewisburg?
Marshall County Senior High School.
Marshall County?
Senior High School,
Okay.
MCHS.
Okay. What did you do for recreation in high school?
Well, let's see. Most time rode bicycles, lift weight, and like I said, band was my biggest thing. Well, we ran a lot, so that was most of recreation there between that and riding bicycles.
Okay. What did you do after high school?
After high school, I went directly into the Marine Corps.
When did you join the Marines?
When did I join?
When?
I joined August the 15th of 1981.
1981.
I actually joined before then, but I couldn't leave until I turned 18,
Okay.
so when I graduated, I was gone.
Why did you join the Marines over the Army, Navy, or Air Force?
Well, I was growing up, we played war games, and the toughest thing we could think of that I wanted to be was a Marine. So I guess playing it ended up, that's where I ended up going.
Where'd you go for boot camp?
Paris Island,
Paris Island.
Beaufort, South Carolina.
Did they have the yellow footprints at
Yes,
Paris
sir.
Island?
Yes, sir.
What are the yellow footprints?
But what are yellow footprints? As far as my understanding, yellow footprints it was our marking, it was our standing, where we made our stand.
That's when you got off the bus?
Got off the bus, and that's where you went. All right, and then we had some in front of the senior drill instructor's door. You stand on it and tap the door with requesting permission to see the senior drill instructor.
Tell me about boot camp.
Boot camp was a fun place. Started out, I knew things was different when I got there that night because everything, you always arrive at night. It was dark we got there, and it was a grueling entrance. Not like today, all yell, get it done, rush, rush, rush. Yeah, go through the process until sun come up. And going through boot camp, phase one, first day phase, was getting acclimated with the drill instructors, your barracks and all that, because we was in open barracks, open squad bay, foot lockers. And I remember the chow, you get there, it was all eat duck, you in and you out. Everything was standing in line, wait for the next man. Training was up 0 dark 30 every morning. It was just great. Boot camp was great, and I enjoyed it.
What type of training did you have in boot camp?
When I went through boot camp, I had the individual combat training. We did defense training, like your hand-to-hand combat, pistol sticks, fitness, and force marches. Never forget the force marches.
How long were they?
We started out with a few miles, about a mile, and then they started getting up to about 3 miles, 4 miles.
What do you carry in that force march?
On that force march, we had our backpacks loaded with our typical 782 gear, your tent pegs, because at that time it was you had a shelter half, the other man had a shelter half, so you had your 6 tent poles, your tent half, your metal or aluminum mess gear, gas mask, all that good stuff, E2, extra clothes, just about everything that you would take to the field was in that bag.
What's your best memory of boot camp?
My best memory of boot camp was a grenade range. Throwing a grenade, Had one of the guys throw a grenade, and instead of going forward, went backwards, landed into the hole. Drill instructor pushed everybody out of the way and let it go. That was the best time I remember. Oh, and our repelling, because we did a lot of repelling, going down the face of the rock, face down, and all that good stuff, you know. So it was all great.
What's your worst memory of boot camp?
Worst memory of boot camp was after going to the gas chamber, having an all-out, one-on-one, every man for himself, last man up the mountain. You know, we run, we wrestled, a big water hole, and it was cold as all get off outside. But you put your game face on. Once you got your game face on, you good. That was my best memory of that.
What's your game face?
Because once you got your game face on, you can do anything you want to do out there. Nothing else matter. The weather didn't matter, conditions didn't matter. You're already set. You're bound and determined now.
Boot camp lasted how long?
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Yes, sir.
So from boot camp, where'd you go?
After I finished boot camp, I went to what they call Infantry Training School, ITS, over at Camp Geiger, North Carolina.
Camp Geiger. What'd you do there?
Well, basic infantry training school. It's where you go, you go through your MOS, which my MOS was 0311. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a receiving station where you wait to see where you're going to be sent to your platoons after you done already graduated boot camp, got your orders, and you come back. This is where you come to Camp Geiger, where your receiving was, and then, like I said, you got assigned to the platoon that you're going to be in.
Okay. The 0311 is?
Infantry training.
Infantry.
Yeah,
Okay.
infantry.
How did that compare to boot camp?
Well, it was basically the same, because what we did in boot camp kind of fixed us up, set us up for what we were fixing to get into the fleet. Mm-hmm. And so where some of the guys, I guess, with higher GTs and stuff like that, they went into other fields and stuff, but I trained basically in combat, so that's what I was set up for when I got to ITS. And so boot camp pretty much set me up for what I need to be set up for in the infantry field. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So from Camp Geiger, where'd you go?
From Camp Geiger, I went to Camp Lejeune, which was my final station in the Fleet Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. So that's a Fleet Marine Force. That's where I was. That was my primary duty station. I think with Lima Company 28, and we stayed there. I stayed there for about 3 years with that unit. Then our first iteration of Beirut.
Okay. Now, what's Lima Company 28?
Lima.
You're in Lima Company.
I was in Lima Company.
To a second of the...
2nd Marine Division, 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines.
Okay, 8th Marine Division?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What'd you do at Camp Lejeune?
Camp Lejeune, I did, like I said, my primary MOS, which was 0311. Mm-hmm. We went out in the field a lot. We worked with recon. We go out, set up, do the basic infantry training thing, the live combat simulation deal. You bivouac, you did your foxholes, your trenches and all that. You basically went out there and went through a simulated combat scenario. Mm-hmm. Other times while we was out there, we would we'll become aggressors, be designated as aggressors. So when recon was set up, we would be out there to go out and infiltrate other units, other platoons that was out there in the field. Mm-hmm. Kind of like sneak in, get stuff, and display it, showing, hey, somebody broke your security.
Mm-hmm. And you were there 3 years?
I was at Camp Lejeune, yes sir, 3 years.
Okay. What's your best memory of Camp Lejeune?
Best memory of Camp Lejeune? What's my best memory of Camp Lejeune? Going through the swamp. Going out on patrols. Where some of the areas, because it was close by the ocean and stuff, so basically when we went out into the woods, the forest, well, actually the best thing was bivouacking. I love bivouacking. I love the smell of those pine needles and stuff. Carolina's beautiful for bivouacking. So being out there and just playing war games. And we had this one thing called Combat Town, where you go out, it's like a village. You go out and you infiltrate it. You set up your booby traps, claymore mines, anything like that. Take a position, defend it. Go out, do your foxholes, and again your machine gun nest patrols and all that good stuff.
When you go on patrol, how many men on a patrol?
Usually when we went out on patrol, you had 12 men, or depending on your platoon set up in a squad size, you split the platoon into different squads and stuff like that. Usually 3 squads and stuff.
How many in a squad?
At that particular time, it would be anywhere from 12 to 16 people, or sometimes it may even be 20, depending on how big your platoon was.
Now, did you walk point?
I walked point one time, and which I really enjoyed because you're looking for everything and anything, and you got to be observative, and I learned to be very observative.
Okay. What about the local people around Camp Lejeune? Have any contact with them?
If you're talking about as far as your civilians, the people that live around the base, they're pretty good. Most of those people worked on base. You know, they did the maintenance on base and stuff like that. Then you go out, they had this one place out in town, you know, Court Street, downtown North Carolina, outside Jacksonville. You go out, that's where all the Marines go on Libo time at 1600. Actually at 4 o'clock when everything's done, go out, had the eat clubs and stuff like that. You go out, you drink, you party, whatever you're gonna do. All the clubs, all that festivity was outside. The people around those areas were pretty good. You had a lot of natives, like Filipinos, that was running the bars or working in the bars and stuff out there. And, you know, a lot of dance clubs and stuff like that. You know, but it was pretty good. People were pretty good. The maintenance people were good. The locals that worked in the stores, they were real good especially when it came to tailoring uniforms, having uniform stuff tailored. They were pretty good at it because a lot of them was, like I said, was from overseas anyway. They were married to Marines and sailors and stuff anyway. So camaraderie was good.
Okay. So from Camp Lejeune, where'd you go?
Well, from Camp Lejeune, we would do what we call our annual deployment. 24th Mile is who I was with. We would go to the Philippines, go to Japan, which was Camp Hansen or Camp I'm trying to think of the other one. Camp Fuji. We would go to those places for training. We do really was your Mediterranean float.
Okay. Now, did you go to the Philippines?
Yes, sir.
Where were you in the Philippines?
I was at Subic Bay when I was in the Philippines.
Subic Bay. What'd you do there?
Well, we ran a lot of patrols while we was there, and basic Subic Bay was like, it was a Marine station point, so when we wasn't doing patrols there, we were just like Libo. It was like being on Libo, you know, leave and everything. But the majority of the time we trained while we was there and everything. And when you look for a wife, you found her right there, Subic Bay.
What about the local people around Subic Bay?
The local people around Subic Bay was pretty nice. They were good, like your mama's sons. They did a lot of your tailoring and stuff, got suits made. You kind of had to watch out for some of them because out in town, they were pretty tricky because you had a lot of your clubs and stuff out there. A lot of Marines got in trouble out there. If you wanted mojo, that's where you found your mojo.
Mojo.
Mojo was a drink, a rainbow-colored drink that it was all right once you sit there and drink it, but after you got ready to get up, when you finished your drink, that's when it delivered that punch. You know, you better have somebody with you when you finished your mojo.
And where'd you go in Japan?
Well, I was in Japan, stationed at Camp Fuji.
Where's Camp Fuji?
It is in the southeastern region of Japan. If you're familiar with Camp Fuji or Mount Fuji,
Yes.
Which Mount Fuji has a great history relating back to the Japanese people. You know, at one time, you know, it was said that they go there, the young folk, if they couldn't cut it to be able to come, if they couldn't master the score that they needed to become a U.S. citizen or something, or a school or something like that, or any situation, they would go to Mount Fuji and jump off the side. You know, they go to Mount Fuji to commit suicide. But Fuji was a great place to train. It's where we did a lot of if we're going on Libo or we're going to go out in town, stuff like that, well, on the weekend, on that last day, that would be where we'd do our training. We'd do like a parade or march up one side of Fuji and down the other side. It was like your physical fitness day fun day.
The Japanese didn't care you going up on Mount Fuji?
No, they didn't care.
Because I thought...
Actually, we trained with the Japanese. We had Japanese cross trainers that we trained with a lot of times over there.
So Camp Fuji is by Mount Fuji?
Yeah, Camp Fuji is on Mount Fuji.
Okay,
yes,
it
sir.
is. Okay.
Mount Fuji is on Camp Fuji.
Okay.
However you want to say, Camp Fuji is on Mount Fuji. But it's a beautiful place, and like I said, if you looked at it on the map, it will look like it's out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. If you looked at it from a map view, it's a beautiful place. Once you get into the top, you're up there with the airplanes and everything else because you're in the clouds. You're up one side and down because it once was an active volcano. Is what it was. So.
Because isn't Mount Fuji sacred to the Japanese?
It's certain, yes, sir. In certain areas, yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. And how long are you overseas in the Philippines? And
when we go on a deployment, it was like either 6 months, 6 month deployment, something like that.
okay. Now, how did you get to the Philippines and Japan?
Well, we would usually travel by. Being we was infantry training unit. We had a light assault unit attached with us, which was helos. So we was on what you call a LPH light ship landing, or it was a Navy ship, but it was housed for the Marines. You
recall the name of the ship?
USS Saipan.
USS Saipan.
Yes, sir.
How long did that trip take?
Oh, I think it took us about. Well, we spent months out there on the water, and the ship was the main focal point. The island training was just places that where we would do our training and stuff. But as far as going back, the ship was our main home and stuff.
How'd you pass the time on that trip?
Usually, you walk the decks. At the end of the day, you go out, sit on the decks. Me, I like to take pictures, so I spend a lot of times up in the radio towers, way up at the top of the ship, looking down, like when they did what they call unwrap, where they would deliver, transport food and supplies from one ship to another ship, from supply ship to our ship. I would be up in the radio towers, gangway, whatever you want to call them, taking pictures, because I love the helicopters and stuff, because that's usually what we traveled by most of the time, from sea to land. And so I would be out taking pictures from up there, taking the overall ship, the ocean, everything else. So a lot of people, had a weight room on the ship. So if you was into weights and stuff like that, usually we had smokers with steel beach picnics. When I say steel beach picnics, I'm talking about where the ship, they could flood the well deck if they wanted to, and bring the water in. If you want, they could make a swimming pool out of it if you wanted to put it like that. Mm-hmm. But we would have most of what they call steel beach picnics, and there we would have festivity days, fun days and stuff, Navy, Marine, airmen, whoever was on the ship, we all come together. And the biggest thing we had was smokers, a box middle heavyweight for the Marine Corps at 195, so was always in smokers, boxing match against Marines against Navy and whoever else, or Marines against Marines. Pretty well structured program, and they gave away trophies and stuff like that.
How many fights did you win?
I won 2 fights, but the one that really stuck out was the one where I went against the Navy guy who was kind of taekwondo, real slender and tall and everything. Kind of fast, like to move around a lot. But I was into it, stand still, so I knew I won that bout that day because I stood there and waited on it, and he came back, and when he made his little turnaround and danced around me, he ran into a haymaker. And ended the fight. Cocked and loaded.
What were your quarters on the ship?
Our quarters was in about midpoint of the lower half of the ship, what they call it berthing areas, below deck. Mm-hmm. That's where we were, and it was on the one half of the ship, on maybe the starboard or port side of the ship. That's where the Marines stayed. It was kind of like ants underground, just everything was kind of quartered by steel doors, airlock doors or roller doors, you roll the hatches back and stuff like that. So, and it was just a lot of metal below.
The watertight hatches?
Watertight hatches. Mm-hmm. The berthing area is kind of quartered off. You had double bunks. You had a man sleep over top of another man and stuff. At times, depending on how the ventilation went, it could be nice and comfortable down there, and other times it could be a nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Did you pull watches on the ship?
Yes, sir. We had what we call guard duty and stuff like that, deck watch. And the main purpose of the deck watch was if night, 'cause you have people that like to get up and walk the decks and stuff like that, or take their smoke breaks and stuff. There were certain times smoking lamps could be lit, and other times they had to be out. But when there was given permission for smoking lamps to be lit, and when I say smoking lamps, cigarettes, people would go up and smoke. And at times you had to watch. We have security watch to make sure anybody fell overboard, because people some of the soldiers like to lean over, and we have at times had an incident where a man went overboard and stuff like that.
Did you get him? Did you get him out?
The only thing I remember one time was a guy went overboard during a storm, and I don't know if we ever found him or not. It never was broadcast or that he was found or not, so.
Okay. What were you told to do in case the ship was in trouble and sinking?
Well, when we always ran general quarter drills. The alarm would go off and everything. They had general quarters where you was under attack or anything like that. But if anything, if it came to a situation where it was under, the ship was gonna sink, they had it stationed, set up where you could designate it mike boats and mike boat captains and stuff like that.
Okay. Where was your general quarters?
What was our general quarters? Our general quarters was usually when we signed the general quarters, it's the helmets, your weapons and everything, depending on if you had to come up deck, depending on if you had a station up deck or had to man a gun or something like that, or stand deck watch or whatever your position was. Other than that, your general quarters was your helmet and stuff, and you downstairs.
Okay. Did you
secure?
Were you on a gun during general quarters?
No, sir, I was not on a gun.
Okay. Okay. And you were on the Saipan how long?
I was on Saipan most duration of the time, which I spent about 2 to 3 months on the USS Saipan.
Okay.
That time. Yeah.
Then where'd you go?
Well, anytime we hit ports, anytime Saipan hit ports, we was in the Mediterranean. We go to France, we go to Spain, Italy, Livorno, Italy, Malaga, Spain, Trieste, Spain, places like that where we pull into port. We go do livo and all that good stuff. Like I said, I take pictures, so I used to go a lot of places. I ride the gondolas, meet with the French. At that time, it was changing the kissing habit of the French people where they wanted to go neck to neck. I just wanted lip lock, so it just kind of messed up the whole greeting station right there.
What was the average attitude of the people in Europe to you?
With us being there, they was usually very friendly, because we ate out at a lot of pubs, went to a lot of pool halls. Then you're gonna always have a good side and a bad. You're gonna have that negative side, this and that, because everybody don't always agree with your agenda or your standards or what you represent. So you always got to be on your P's and Q's no matter where you go.
Okay.
But majority of the time, like I said, we was there to have fun, and the place we went and the people associated with, they was catered to making sure we had that fun and stuff.
So when you left the Saipan, where'd you go?
After we left the Saipan, and like I said, we'll go out in town and stuff like that. Are you talking, as far as leaving the Saipan, you talking about coming back to state, or you talking about still being over the...
When you rotated off the Saipan, where'd you go?
Yeah, usually when we left the Saipan, it'd be that we'll pull into another port, or we'll pull in another training site or something like that.
And where'd you go when you left the Saipan?
Well, like I said, if I left the Saipan, it'd be the training area that we're going to be in.
Did you go to Beirut?
Yes, sir.
What'd you do in Beirut?
In Beirut, we was on a multi-peacekeeping force. We was armed with the weapons, but not ammo. We wasn't allowed to shoot because we was on a multi-peacekeeping force. And to make sure that peace was maintained, we didn't have the ammo to... Because we had kids come by, they would throw rocks, we'd be on guard or something like that. They'd come by and they'd toss rocks. They try to intimidate you. But we was right there in southern Lebanon at the time. And at that particular time, we were living in foxholes. We were doing our security, this and that. I was carrying a .45 or assault shotgun at the time. I was standing MP duty, what we call MP duty and stuff like that. But the majority of the times, we'd be in a regular comeback gear, we'd be living in foxholes, and sometimes we would take, depending on where you were, you might catch a few mortar fires every now and then, but it was always, to me, I don't know, it was always an alert, always keep you on your toes and stuff. And you see the whole purpose of building those foxholes, digging those foxholes, because I call them upright caskets, stand-up caskets, because we dug 2-man or 1-man, depending on what position you was holding and stuff like that, and always ensured that there was a grenade sunk just in case someone was able to get a grenade in there for that, for whatever purpose.
Were you still with Lima 28?
I was Echo Company 3-6 at the time. With that.
That's the 6th Marine Division? Okay.
It was it was 3rd Battalion, 6 Marines.
Okay.
3-6 Lima Company, Echo Company. I might have that mixed up first time, Echo 2-8 and then Lima 3-6. Yeah, that's what it was. But,
what's your best memory of Lebanon?
Best memory of Lebanon was when being out there in the foxholes and stuff. We get a mortar attack every now and then. You brush the dust off and say better luck next time. At that particular time, that's when I started learning how to smoke. So because that was a nerve calmer, and the main thing I remembered about Beirut was when we left out of there, another unit was in, and at the particular time, everybody wanted to stay in the barracks, because at that particular time, Beirut used to be American tourist place and all that. There was college over and everything, so now those barracks have become holding spots and stuff, and everybody wanted to be in them instead of being in the foxhole. And at my understanding, there was a group over there, and they finally got the privilege to go into the barracks, and that's when the guy drove the truck through the barracks and leveled the place, and I think 278 or 280-something sailors, Marines got killed.
I was told they couldn't stop him because they had no ammo in their weapons.
That's right. Yep. And it still was a peacekeeping force, multi-peacekeeping time.
What's your worst memory of Lebanon?
Well, mine that would probably be it right there, having to be on the ready for that, to go over there and stuff like that for that. Because I know at that particular time you couldn't tell a Marine that he couldn't shoot. The dog didn't have a prayer that day. Cause from that point on, it was, Marine was ready to go.
Now, who was firing mortars and rockets at you?
Well, when we was doing that particular time, I guess if you wanted to say, because we were in the Lebanon area, you want to say Lebanese nationals or whatever. I do remember the times but there was Somalia, a whole different ball game and stuff like that, But during that particular time, I would just say Lebanese nationals, because that's where we were. So that's what I would suppose that we was up against, stand in position of. So.
Okay. And you in Lebanon how long?
I stayed in Lebanon, I think it was over a month.
Okay. Then where'd you go?
Well, after leaving Lebanon, we started doing our port moves and stuff like that, and we ended up coming back. Our rotation was over, we ended up coming back to the U.S.
And where'd you go?
Came back to Camp Lejeune. Matter of fact, I was doing the last term of somewhere around there. It was time for me to re-enlist. And I was more adamant I was looking at getting my re-enlistment done and everything like that, but we made it back to Camp Lejeune and ended up getting hit with early out.
And you left the Marines when?
It was, I think it was October the 7th, February the 7th of 80, it was 85. Yeah, because it was I did a 3-year hitch the first time around, so it was 85.
Was the Iran-Iraq war going on at this time?
No, not to that point, because I think the Iran-Iraq war really got kicked off during 07, 06, or 01, something like that, 2001.
This is whenever
no, it wasn't.
The Ayatollah and all this in Iraq, and back in the 80s, the war between Iran and Iraq.
No, well, if it was going on where like I said, where I was, matter of fact, 89, 80 something, because that's when it kicked off, really started kicking off. But I was already out, but I wanted to come back in for that, so I made it the first iteration of Desert Storm when I was allowed back into the Marine Corps.
Okay, so when did you get back in the Marines?
Well, I came back in the Marine Corps. I was going to be put with a mechanized sniper unit because during my break time, I did make a shift over to California, which was where I was Echo Company 28, 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines out of California, Camp Pendleton, California. Can't have my times and my units mixed up. But yeah, I was attached to 2-8. I went to sniper school.
Now, how long were you out of the Marines?
I was out of the Marines for about, I think, a year and a half.
And when did you get back in then?
I came back in 86, I think it was. I was trying to get back in. Yeah, 86, I come back in. 86 to 87.
Okay. What'd you do?
Well, when I came back in, I made it to California. Got selected, ended up going to California. I wanted to join up with a sniper platoon because I had a good PFT, because at that time Marine Corps had to have a 300 PFT. Physical fitness score. So my physical fitness score was a 300 because I did my 3-mile run, 18:15. I did my allotted amount of sit-ups and push-ups, maintained a good PT, the physical record. I wanted to join sniper school, so I went to state platoon, which was surveillance target acquisition. I was assigned to that platoon. During the time of that, I think it was during the first generation of, I want to say first generation of Beirut, because that's when we went back to, no, it's the last generation of Beirut, somewhere around there, because we ended up going to Lebanon again because it was hijacking planes and stuff. So we ended up being sent there to maintain 500 pounds of MAP, watched the Green Beret, and again, I was with the USS Saipan, which was our troop carrying ship.
So you went back to Lebanon?
Went back to Lebanon. And there we were to maintain the little island where the plane got, where they're using the strip to hijack the planes and stuff like that. But the whole job was we were going to go over, secure the area. Navy was going to bombard after the hostages was released. The Navy was going to bombard the strip to make sure that it never happened again. They were going to wipe it off the face of the map. But
what hostages did they release?
The hostages that was, I think American hostages too, that was on that. I can't remember what airline it was, but I think it was the last one before the shutdown of
These were civilians?
Lebanon. Yes, civilian and military.
Okay.
And I think the military was mostly targeted on that. If you was in the military, it was best that you didn't have ID because they would check. People pretty much knew what they were looking for, and they were kind of focused on American people and stuff. So I think that was the whole purpose of hijacking the plane for whatever political reason that they was doing it. And but anyway, that island, that little strip of airport was going to be eliminated.
Was that Beirut?
That was in trying to think, Lebanon. I know it was Lebanon. I don't exactly remember what area, but I know it was Lebanon.
Okay, because Beirut's a big city there,
yeah.
isn't it? Mm-hmm. Okay. And how long were you in Lebanon this time?
This time was over there, how long was over there? I want to say 3 months of rotation.
Okay.
3 months of rotation.
Now, what's your best memory of this tour in Lebanon?
Well, just being there, getting prepped for the assault if we were going to have to do it. Mm-hmm. Watching John Wayne, Green Beret, the whole way over there, going over the map and stuff, and being assigned to key positions that we were going to hold up. And that was the best thing, because at that particular point, I thought we were going to really get engaged and put our sniper abilities to use. Mm-hmm. But like I said, it was called a stand down, and how hostages were released, it was a stand down. So it was back home, back toward the port, but we did our little port stops and stuff like that. And so I think this time I did Malaga, Spain, rode around the gondoliers, went to Cheese, Malaga.
Okay.
Malaga, Spain, and Rota, Spain. Mm-hmm. Went to the little cheese factory, wine factories and stuff like that. Mostly toured until it was time to head back to home.
And you in the Marines?
I was in the Marines 8.5 years. Because my broken time, like I said, I got hit that early out when we came back from Beirut, and just out in the field training, ended up with pseudofolliculitis, which was shaving where skin rose, the hair, instead of hair growing out of the skin, it rose under. So I developed pseudofolliculitis. We didn't know what it was at the time, but once it was diagnosed, I was released from the Marine Corps. I had a year evaluation prior to coming back in and stuff like that. So I ended up coming back in 86 to 87, okay, which was a short-lived term. And, went on ahead after that, got out and stuff, and just wanted to continue my career. So that's how I ended up in the Army National Guard, okay, 4 years later.
And what unit did you join in the National Guard?
1175th Heavy Transportation Unit.
1176th?
75th.
75th.
Which is a HET unit. HETT.
Where?
Tullahoma, Tennessee.
Tullahoma, Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
What'd you do?
Well, being a truck driver, that's basically what I've done. I wanted to come in as a medic because I had 4 years of nursing, or 4 years of nursing skills behind me as a technician and a registered technician. So I wanted to come in. I came in at Smyrna, Tennessee. While I was sitting there waiting to be processed in, the staff sergeant that processed me in came in and said, I got a move for you. He said, Tullahoma needing truck drivers. So from that point on, he sent me to Tullahoma, and that's where I've been. Went to 88 Mike School up in Knoxville, Fort Knox, Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Went there for 88 Mike School, finished 88 Mike School.
What's 88 Mike?
That's MOS for truck drivers,
okay, transportation
unit. So I came back to 1175th, which is right there in Tullahoma, Tennessee. Been a head driver ever since, and that's where I took my deployments from there to Iraq.
What's a HET?
A HET is what they call it, the M1070. It's a big vehicle, multi-purpose vehicle designed to pull the haul the Abram M1A1 tank. The truck itself is the M1070, and then the M1000 or 10,000 is 1,000 is the trailer that is attached to the truck. So it's the biggest, to me, it's the biggest, baddest truck. 18-wheel monster. You can get 8-wheel monster, 8-wheel 4-wheel drive, or whatever you want to call it. It's a bad truck.
Yep.
So yeah, I enjoyed driving it the whole time I've been there. It's been my baby. We train on it. We train other soldiers. Mm-hmm. If it had to go into combat, that'd be the truck that I'd take.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you were in the National Guard how long?
I've been in the National Guard since 2003. Okay. March of 2003.
Were you called to active duty?
I was called active duty February of 2000, no, March of 2007 to March of 2008.
Where'd you go?
We went to, the first one was Camp Buren, Iraq, and then, I'm trying to think. Camp Arajon. Camp Arajon.
How do you spell that?
Arajon, A-R, oh man.
Is it A-R-A?
Arajon, J-O-N. Arajon, Iraq.
When you first notified you were being called to active duty, what were you thinking?
Well, actually, because as a National Guard, I'm a civilian too. I drive trucks too. I just made a run out. I just left New York City on when the Twin Towers got hit, and I was in, about the time that it really settled in, I was in Springfield, Missouri, and I just knew when the President came on the news and said this is an act of war, they would just declare war on Iraq. I knew then that there was going to be some action.
What did you think when the Twin Towers came down?
War. Its own. And, it was something that you couldn't believe it. I mean, I was watching it on TV, and I said, I just left New York. About that time, they started to shut down, nobody in, nobody out. And so I couldn't really believe it. I called my wife and told her, I said, Twin Towers just got hit and stuff. And she asked where I was. I said, well, I'm in Springfield now, but day ago I was in New York. You know, I just left there when that happened, you know. So I already knew it. I said, well, this is a big war right here, you know. And it was just a matter of time.
How'd you travel to Iraq?
Well, we traveled to Iraq by military military flight.
Okay.
Yeah, National Guards. I call them jumbo, the biggest plane National Guard got.
The C-5A?
Yes, sir, the biggest one they got, and that's how we got there. We left local flight, and then we linked up with military after that, you know.
And you left the States from where?
What was that the first time? Fort Bragg.
Polk Air Force Base.
Yeah, because we had moved out of Fort Bragg.
Okay.
All our mobile station was at Fort Bragg. We left there and headed there, hit Germany, and then on over to.
What'd you do in Iraq?
My primary mission in Iraq was convoy ops. We transported water, building material. We moved equipment, battle damaged equipment. We retrieved battle damaged equipment, tanks, other hats, trucks, stuff like that. Everything that's been hit. Because the first time over there, a lot of stuff was getting hit by IEDs and stuff like that. Getting hit by EFPs and stuff like that. So we would go out and we would retrieve this stuff under fire or under under calm air, you know. But we would go out and we would retrieve that. But our main objective as transportation units, we supplied water supply. We moved vehicles, you know, for the training. I guess some of the Iraqi people that was training with the U.S. people and stuff like that. We hauled vehicles out from location to location.
How do you retrieve a vehicle under fire?
Very carefully. You have your gun trucks out. They set up because as a head driver, you don't engage in combat. Your job is to drive through the combat zone. You know, you're in armored vehicles. You know, as long as you're not hit, you're good. But usually when we had to retrieve vehicles under those conditions, we had our gun trucks out, which would cover fire and stuff like that. We go out. You have your I'm trying to think what we call our teams, but our retrieving teams, we'll go out, we'll hook up the dead vehicles and stuff with the tow bars and stuff like that. Snatch them out of the area and stuff like that. If the equipment was dead, then those trucks come with winches, so we winch it on or winch it off. But the main thing, we winch it on, pull it, you know, load it up on our trucks, and like I said, under heavy security, we move out or do what we have to do.
Is your hat armored? You have armor on that hat?
Over there, we're armored up. You have a quarter plate steel on the front. You have 3 brackets, 3 plates that are on the doors. On each one of the doors, your glass, your windshield, your door glasses, and everything else. If you want to say 1/4 inch thick, however you want to call it. It was to the point where if somebody wanted to stand there and shoot at you, you wave at them while they stand looking at them, make faces at them while they're shooting at you, because that's how thick the glass was. The truck would burn down and the glass still survived. But majority of the truck was armored up and stuff like that, you know, and plus we had, I can't think of the electronic equipment we were using at the time, but it would block most of the radio frequency because the Iraqi people at that time would like to detonate things and stuff like that, but we had the jammers on them that would be like an umbrella on top of the vehicle, you know, and it would break the circuits, so they weren't able to transmit and detonate anything that we were around because of those devices that we had on our trucks and stuff.
Have any contact with the local people in Iraq?
Well, during the time, if you, like me and you sitting here, you can sit there with them, you break out your family pictures, and when you talk about family, during tea time, because tea time was a big thing over there, conversations was great. And as long as you wasn't doing anything to violate or to kind of tick them off, anything like that, because they were kind of sensitive. Things that we don't take in consideration, they take in consideration and stuff. You know, some things that were more important to them, they have a lot of things honored. Say, for instance, dogs in the monastery and stuff like that. You can have the best day, drink tea, sit there, shake hands. This is my daughter, this is my son, show family picture. But the minute, like we had to do MPs come in and do a search or something like that, once those dogs hit that monastery, it's wartime. Oh, forget about that tea. It was on. So the people there were pretty good people. As long as you understood the language, we did have to do some language training and stuff like that, culture training, so that the things, we wouldn't offend them, even as far as shaking hands and greeting and stuff like that, because the little things that we don't really pay attention to are offensive things to them. So.
What would be offensive to that we?
Pointing for one, looking at another man, looking at staring and looking at the woman. Looking at the woman, you know. Or sometimes you just had to, it's where you walked or how you went about doing things. Cause I think, you know, their women walk behind them and ours walk beside us, in front of us, won't make no difference. You know, and then shaking hands, you know, greeting and stuff like that, you know. Motions was a big thing, you know, how you went about, so.
How do you clear the roads of IEDs?
Well, we had what we call road clearing crews that was always out. I call them angels because anytime those guys was out, the guys and girls, because team made up with guys and girls, but sophisticated electronic equipment, they'd go out and they scan the roads and stuff like that, and they get feedback from the equipment, from the infrared cameras and stuff that was on, sensors that was on their equipment, their tuggers and stuff like that, and they would send pictures back, let them know that there's something here. Or most of the time we would look for wires and stuff like that would run along the roadside, because they was good at doing that. And anything that was out of place, if you come up to a place and it looked like fresh dug road construction or something like that, or guardrails or stuff like that, because that's where they basically put stuff. And plus we had equipment that would detect things too, so that's most of how we kind of kept track of what was going on out there, what was out there and what wasn't. Plus, like I said, we had that, you got eyes in the sky, so it was always some way of knowing intel, letting you know that, hey, this area is hot or something like that. Or
what part of Iraq is Camp John?
I can't remember.
It's central. Baghdad?
It's close to Baghdad, yeah. Mm-hmm. Close to Baghdad, close to Saudi. It's almost in the same position, Arabia, Saudi Arabia and all that, little jointed areas around it, but it's the center portion of Iraq.
Did you get to Baghdad?
We went to Baghdad one time. We was on a mission, and no, it was Saudi Arabia. We was on a mission, and it said we had overdrove our boundary. The guys that supposed to have been going, that I guess they missed something, missed a turn or something, and the next thing we know, sign said, "Welcome to Saudi Arabia." So there we were. We had to turn around there and come back across the border and stuff. But Baghdad was places where most of the units went the first time when it was over there, when Saddam Hussein was in. The place where they called Swords, and yes, we did. As a matter of fact, we did travel to Baghdad a couple of times, because like I said, we hauled equipment that was compounds, marine setup, and stuff like that.
Oh, those big cross swords? Mm-hmm. You saw those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had to go there, and matter of fact, we got caught in a bombardment one time there, and we had to call. We had Marine air support, because Marine basically took charge of the skies over there. I mean, when we go out, anytime we went on convoy, we always, depending on where we went, we always had come for air support and stuff like that.
Okay. So what happened in the bombardment?
Well, we made it to a compound, and the thing about it over there, the village will tell people their signals. They send signals and stuff, blink lights, or for instance, you come into one village, all of a sudden the village go black. Because we mostly traveled at night. The first time we was over, our convoy was pushed out at night. So you come through the village and everything, you start approaching the village, the whole village go black. Then you pretty much get ready for what's coming next, you know, and you get small arms fire, you might get RPG fire and stuff like that. but we was always prepared for it. And like I said, we didn't have to engage in anything because we had gun trucks that took care of all of that. No, we just keep rolling. If we didn't get hit and get knocked out of motion, we just rolled right on through it. And
So in your convoy, how many trucks in your convoy?
Depending on how big the convoy is, sometimes you might have 20 trucks,
Okay.
100-something people. Plus, in those convoys, we always served as a protective force for the non-combatants, which were third national people like that, probably in the countries like Indonesia, Ethiopia, that hauled equipment as well, but their trucks were like the European trucks and stuff like that. Our truck was up armored, their trucks were usually just plain Jane. They had no protection other than sometimes they may have on some borrowed ballistic helmets. Other times they may have on baseball helmet, a better's cap, hat. May have
These
a
were
borrowed.
workers in or
Yeah,
out?
these are the third national people,
Okay.
and which we used to call that convoy. We call them whites because their trucks were majority white, so we called them whites, and we implemented them into our convoy and segged them out, confiscating all phones, all means of communication. And I was the third national liaison officer, TCLNO, which I was responsible for retrieving the phones, every one of them's phone, if it needed medical attention, stuff like that, food, something like that. Then I was responsible for that portion of them at times. We would train, different one of us would be a TCLNO, and at the same time we make sure we picked up food for our units and stuff as well, when we come through checkpoints and
Now,
stuff.
when you got there, did you give the phones back to them?
No, they never received their phones until the mission was over with, and they were back at Air John. We come back behind the wire, come back inside the wire. They, but once going outside the wire, everything was done, briefings was done. Once everything was put in plan, everything's confiscated and everything, but once they got back and the mission was over with, then phones was given back to them and stuff, and they were sent on their ways.
Who are we fighting in Iraq?
Well, at that time, today it's Taliban, ISIS, whatever. I believe same peoples who were dealing with then. Maybe they just changed their name once. Say, well, we just call ourselves ISIS now. So, but at first I was say Taliban and any resistant forces like that, Iraqi forces or something like that.
Did you get to Afghanistan?
No, sir. I never get to go to Afghanistan. I wanted to, but I didn't get to because it was a volunteer thing, and it didn't matter if you put your name in the hat or not. It was up to the unit that was deploying whether they selected you or not. So.
What type of quarters did you have in Iraq?
Well, we lived in some of them, we call them mud huts or something like that, but ours was like barracks. Was over there at Air John, outside Air John, all throughout Air John. Basically, was chews, what they call chews, metal connexes that was built up like trailers and stuff like that. 2-man room and stuff. It was basically your connexes converted into trailer living spaces.
What type of bunkers did you have?
The bunkers was like some of those would be chews with sandbag built in, earthed in, and stuff like that. Kind of pretty much dug in and stuff like that.
Was it a Connex or?
Sometimes it would be a Connex, and then other times it would be, I guess, what was already there previously, but it was going to be fortified. However, it was going to have, and then we have what we call the rock walls that we built up that was bought in and stuff to set up a barrier around the whole complex itself. And then some of the places were like I said, office buildings like what you see around here. I mean, your wood frame buildings, but they were just fortified. Yeah, fortified and have barriers around them and stuff like that.
Did you have any duty besides truck driver over there?
Yeah, we pulled different duties over there. They do mess duty. Sometimes you'd be on a motor pool, stuff like that. Security, always some type of security that you're going to be on and stuff like that.
And what kind of security would you pull?
Well, you do barrack security, you do around perimeter security, stuff like that. They have towers throughout the whole complex and stuff. So depending on your unit and stuff, you would usually go do guard duty, stand guard duty and stuff like that, But it was all, duty was never strenuous. It was always good, never outside the wire. Basically, yeah, just everything most inside the wire, but you know, you did tower, guard duty and stuff like that.
How long were you in Iraq?
I stayed in Iraq a year. Actually, 11 and a half months. I went in February of '06 or '07, and then came home February of '08. And that was the first time. And then the second time, I went home 6 months. And 1176 unit out of, or 1174 out of Memphis, Tennessee, small transportation unit, getting ready to deploy. They needed extra bodies and stuff, so we being head drivers, 19 of me and 19 or 18 of our guys and girls went over there. We volunteered to go back with them, and we stayed over there for about 10 months.
Where'd you stay this time?
Q West, Iraq.
Where?
Q West.
Key West, Iraq?
Q West.
Q West. Mm-hmm. Where's that?
It's in the northern part of Iraq. It's outside Erbil, kind of. Well, to me, it's outside Baghdad or somewhere, you know, along the borderline, somewhere around there. But out that way,
it's not up in the Kurdish area, is it? Way up in the mountain.
It's not really way up in the mountain, but I say it's out. It's kind of out in the northern areas, something like that. I mean. But it was around that area, mostly outposts, Marine outposts, Special Force outposts, and stuff like that. So, our job there was to transport. We take water out, and during that time we was over there, it was during the closing down of Iraq. Okay. It's when we were getting ready to bring the troops back home.
Yeah.
And so we was taking down, transporting stuff back in. We were throughout Iraq. We was moving equipment and barriers and stuff like that, mostly a 915 transportation unit and stuff like that, HEMTs, PLSs, and stuff like that, light trucks and stuff.
And you were there how long this time?
I stayed over there 10 months. 10 months.
What's your best memory of Iraq?
The rope bridges. The floating bridges, you know, where
the pontoon bridges?
Pontoon bridges, yeah, having to drive the trucks up on those, and then sometimes once you pull in to land, because they are, depending on how they were. We lost more cargo boxes off of trucks, off our flatbeds and stuff like that, because once you hit one of them, you hit a berm or something like that, it rip it right off. At the time we were driving tankers too, so it was a hard, bumpy ride. Fast, but hard, bumpy ride, because the 915s, I call them speedsters, you know. They like your Freightliners out here. Mm-hmm. But the whole time, the best part, what I enjoyed about that was, you know, that, and then, like I said, it had the gym and stuff, activities and stuff, the food over there, you know. If we was out, we eat, you know, sometimes, first time I ever ate lamb and stuff like that, you know, because one of the outposts we was at, we stopped at a restaurant or a cookery there, you know, and feasted out. But it was enjoyable. The whole thing was enjoyable. And then I did a ministry over there. I was served as a minister over there. If the chaplain couldn't make it out, then I do the prayer, the services before we go outside the wire, anoint our trucks, anoint our drivers if they wanted to be anointed, have prayer, even have prayer with the Third Nationals over there that wanted prayer, because they saw us in a prayer circle. They wanted in a prayer circle, but then again, they didn't have no protect. They really didn't have no body armor and stuff like that either. So, yeah, they were vulnerable to anything that happened. So those were the interesting times, and best time for me just being there and doing visiting the CCPs, the casualty collection points. Your battle damaged soldiers and stuff like that, or just normal soldiers been diagnosed with cancer or sickness or something, or going through relational problems back home, stuff like that was having issues and stuff. So going places like that and doing prayer services and chapel services and stuff.
What's your worst memory of Iraq?
Worst memory, having to sit out after IED has been detected, or when road clearing crew come through and said there's an IED has been detected up, so, and then you had to sit there in pitch black with your NVGs on, watching, looking all around.
NVG?
Yeah, night vision goggles.
Okay.
Because once you go black, and you waiting on EOD to locate and detonate, the IEDs have been detected, you also have to sit there and monitor because you're right there in an outpost and you couldn't trust anybody. So while you sitting there waiting on that, you had to make sure that somebody wasn't planting IEDs under your truck while you were sitting there, or coming up behind the berm ready to take you out while you're sitting there. So those were the scary times, but they were the fun times though. Scary time was always a fun time because now anything, that's where you take things into reality. Reality has become a factor now. Anything can happen. You can go home tonight, or you won't. You be going home, or you won't be going home. You know. And,
so you called to active duty again?
That was the last time that I was, and and until I retire, hopefully I'll get called in again. You know, get one more pump under my belt. So.
Okay. Are you still in the National Guard?
Still in the National Guard.
What unit are you in?
1175th.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been the unit I've been with. I had opportunities to move to other units, but that transportation I enjoy. That's best to me in the military. That's the best unit because that's all I know is transportation. You know, and I love being around the equipment because you drive everything. They got from tracks to wheels. We just ain't got the hover equipment yet, but I'm pretty sure if we loaded it, I'll be driving it.
Which you prefer, the Army or the Marines?
I will always be a Marine. Because to me, everything is physically patterned after the Marines. What other units are trying to do now or implement now as a strenuous or more critique fitness for us, Marine Corps, we were doing it. Marine Corps was doing it before it was ever put in the books.
I'd like to do a word association. I'll give you some words and you give me your reaction.
Okay.
The first one is boot camp.
Boy Scout.
ITS.
Structure school.
USS Saipan.
Home on the water.
Twin Towers.
How would I class Twin Towers? Commemoration.
Het.
Badass.
Philippines.
If I say paradise, but hey, nice place, vacation, nice. Palm Beach.
Japan.
Oh, Japan. Great getaway.
Iraq.
Great training.
IED.
Eye opener.
George Bush.
Great president.
How do you want to be remembered?
As a fun-loving, God-fearing person.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, most people don't want to mention this, but if you got a good wife, whether you're a truck driver, soldier, policeman, doesn't matter. When you got a good wife, that support means a lot. That's more because a lot of times that's all you got to carry you through. You know, and that's about the closest God you're going to get in some things, you know, in some situations, as far as hearing from the Lord. Because my wife kept me comfort. My wife talked to me when she never talked on the phone. We communicated. We had a spiritual connection to a point to where she would call me and ask about other soldiers, because my wife's a prayer warrior, and she would see other soldiers, and I would be just like me and you sitting here talking. She'd call me and she'll describe you semi, and that person might have been talking to the Lord about something, and here she is praying to the Lord, and the Lord has revealed this person's situation and issue and his comments to the Lord. And so now she's describing that person to me, and then we get to talk. And he's wondering, how did you know about my business or my affairs? But you know, that's how I stayed in contact. That's how I stayed on the go. So my wife played a big part in my spiritual work, in my spiritual life, my military life. When I asked God for a woman that would love me unconditionally, He sent one, because I am who I am today because of a lot of things that she did and the support that she gave me and the support that she raised for me in the civilian world, church communities and stuff, and for my troops and my people. while we was overseas.
Where'd you meet your wife?
I met her in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, at a complex that I lived in one end and she lived on the other end. And I come in, I was working for Nissan at the time, Nissan Motor Corporation. I come home, she'd always been in the same spot. I went through a series of bad marriage, and I promised the Lord I'd never get married again. And I told him, I said, she could be butt naked and beautiful as Queen of Sheba, and said that God said. And I said, but if I didn't hear you say from my own ears, she can keep right on walking. And the day that I came through that complex and saw my wife sitting there, I said, Lord, I could be happy with a little gal like that. And the voice of the Lord or the Holy Spirit said, and you shall. But I didn't know that night I was going to take the trash out. And I come back in, take 3 steps right to her front doorstep and stand there all night and listen to her rant and rave about the situation, the past situation, because she's from here in Oklahoma, and what she went through and what she was going through. But she came to Tennessee to escape it all. And I didn't know that I was going to be the person that she get to vent to. But after it was all over and done, I went in. She expected to see me the next day. I expected to see her the next day. We went on a date. We got to talking. We went on a date. I introduced her to my mom. And I ended up becoming her caregiver because she was going through some stressful situations. And we ended up being husband and wife.
Sir, this is an excellent interview.
Well, I appreciate it. I try to put my dates and things together when I'm talking. Now, I used to have magazines. I used to have photo albums. If I couldn't get things right, if I couldn't say enough, my photo albums about this thick. One was on Japan, one was on East Camp Station at Japan, and one was on the Philippines, one was on France and Spain and Italy, and they was all this thick. Every picture, every document, everything that we ever done. Because like I said, as a sniper, we was given a Nikon 10 and a roll of black and white film. My job was to go out and take pictures at some installations when we got there. I would take those pictures, we'd get them developed and everything, we'd roll them out and then we'd go to a sand table, big old table, and we'd go from those pictures and build that location. Or we would go to antenna fields, collect information. My piece of equipment, I had 2 pieces of equipment that I operated. One was an AM PBS-4 Alpha, which was a radar equipment. You put your headphones on, you sit there, you tune in, and I could sit back where I'm at and listen to the guys on the ship and tell when it was dinner time and when it was bedtime, just by the clanking and the noise that was coming back, because that's all it is, sit out and monitor sounds and stuff. Other was what we call it, a NOD, night observation device. It was a big old telescope, big cone-shaped telescope, about 50-pound base plate. That was my piece of equipment. I took that piece of equipment everywhere I went. I go out in the bushes. At night, it operated out on ambient light, a 10 BC battery that I put into the charger, and it would turn, if it was moonlight out, it would turn nighttime into daylight. It was a giant starlight scope, what it was, and it would take ambient light and convert it and make it, with the battery power, turn it into daylight. And so I would lay out there and I monitor what was going on at night and stuff out in the woods.
Where were you doing this?
I was doing this when I was in state platoon when I went 2-8, when I went to California.
In the States?
Yeah. No, that was outside the state. I did it overseas and everything. That was part of my equipment as a sniper. That was part of my equipment because we would go out on snipes. Sometimes we go out on. We made our own ghillies. Okay. In other words, our own swamp suits, if you want to call it that, and mostly made out of old airman fly guy suits and stuff like that. We fitted with net and stuff like that, so we put twigs and all that other stuff in. Go out there, go out in the woods, lay there, and be out there a couple of days so we could smell like the woods. So if anything came around, dog came around, because we were pretty much camouflage. We sitting out there, you probably peed on me. You would know I was there. I was just like talking grass to you. But that's how it was, and those were my 2 pieces of equipment, plus the Remington 40 that we had. So.
Well, again, this is February 15th, 2020. My name is Joe Todd. This has been an interview with Harold Pigg in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Thank you.
You're welcome.